And we are live.
We're live.
Hello and welcome to the 2025 Oregon Country Fair Board Candidates Forum hosted by Get Out the Vote. I am Brett. I'm one of the co-coordinators for Get Out the Vote, and I am joined by my co-coordinator today, Rebecca. We have a few announcements that we're going to go through, and then we're going to jump right into today's forum. But before we begin, Get Out the Vote always likes to do a land recognition. We acknowledge that we're gathered today on the ancestral and unceded homelands of the Kalapuya-speaking people, who have been the original stewards of this land for more than 14,000 years. Despite enduring forced removal and immense disruptions of their traditional way of life, their people's deep connection to the land remains. As we begin, we honor their enduring legacy, resilience, and wisdom. We commit to respecting this land, respecting the injustices faced by its original inhabitants, and striving to be responsible caretakers of this space today and into the future. All right, well, thank you very much again for joining us today. Before we get going, there's just a few announcements, as I mentioned, that we'd like to do. And first of all, we would like to thank the Elections Committee and Jeffrey for all the work that you've done. I know it's going to be a little easier this year to count the ballots, but there's been a lot of work that has gone into getting this year's election set up. We have Jeffrey joining us to give an update here in just a second. But we also wanted to thank the fair staff, Kristen and Vanessa, for all of your support and everything you do to support this event. The Get Out the Vote crew. You can see them here in the timer window. They're a great looking bunch. This year they spoke to more than 25 crews at crew meetings at the fair. They registered more than 1,500 fair family memberships. And we also did regular voter registration during the fair with day volunteers as well. So a significant number of folks that we were able to reach this year. So thanks to the crew. Big thanks to everyone watching us right now on YouTube and for submitting questions. I don't think we've ever had more questions submitted than we did this year, so we'll try to get through as many as possible. Special thanks to the Fair Board for all the support of what we do. Get Out the Vote. We've been doing this for more than 20 years, and it's probably never been more important than it is today to be engaged. And last but not least, this year's candidates. Thank you all for running. You've probably heard us say this before in the past, but healthy organizations are healthy when they have an engaged membership, but they also have incredibly smart, dedicated people who lead the organization. So thank you for stepping up and volunteering your time. Jeffrey, we are going to have a little different style election this year. Can you please give us a minute or two update on how people are going to vote? I hear 98% of Fair Family is not going to use a paper ballot this year.
Thank you, Brett. That's correct. This is going to be mostly an online election, meaning that ballots are going into people's email boxes, and that would be with the email address they have on file with the fair. So they went out Wednesday evening. So please look in your email inbox for your ballot. We sent out about 5,600 email ballots. We sent out about 200 mail ballots, again, Wednesday. We're working through ballots that have come back because of bad email addresses. And then I'm sure when I get back to the fair office Tuesday, there'll be some return paper ballots. So we're working on those, contacting people, trying to figure out how to get those, out to everybody. But we should have all ballots out Tuesday or Wednesday. And again, your ballots are in your email box. Take a look there. And if you have any questions or any issues, get a hold of us at elections@OregonCountryFair.org. Thank you, Brett.
Hey, thank you, Jeffrey. We appreciate all the work you're doing. And the Elections Committee. Remember, you must have your ballots in. Make sure you vote by 8 p.m. on Saturday, October 18th. Ballots will be counted and results will be posted on Sunday, October 19th. You will have an additional opportunity to meet the candidates at the annual membership meeting, which is Saturday, October 11th at the Unitarian Universalist Church in Eugene. from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. That's also going to be available on YouTube, so you can watch there as well. All right, so the rules for today's forum, very similar to how things have operated in the past. We met online before we started streaming on YouTube and picked names out of a hat to determine the order. Indigo is going to start us off in round one. We're going to begin with 2-minute introductory statements, and then we'll move into a second round where the questions submitted by Fair Family will begin. In the second round, we'll begin with Trevor, whose name was drawn second, and then we'll keep moving so on and so forth. We have a timer up in the window, so you'll be able to keep track of time. We found last year 90 seconds was not enough time for a lot of candidates to answer some of the complex questions we got. So we increased the amount of time you have to 2 minutes. It's up to you. If someone's already said exactly everything you want to say, you don't have to repeat it. You're welcome to tell us that, but use the time as you'd like. And with that, we will begin with you, Indigo, with introductory statements.
I guess I just want to invite us all to take a deep breath together, because I'll give my time up to that, because that breath that we breathe together is super important, right? It's super important. It helps our heart, which my heart's beating super fast right now because I'm nervous to sit here in front of all of you and be in this kind of place, right? And I just want to honor all of you who've stepped up to this moment in this candidacy, in this election, and all those who have done this same thing in the past for all these years, because it takes courage. And, you know, my courage shivers and shakes sometimes, and I can feel that really strong right now. I think what I want to say in this 2 minute, 1 minute, 10 seconds, 9 seconds, 8 seconds introduction is everything I've done at the fair has been about trying to bring us together in some way. It's been about perhaps holding a place of leadership, but not a place of leadership that's above or below or next to, but just a place where I am offering what I can offer in service, just like each of you in all your ways have stepped up in small ways and huge ways to offer your service to this organization. I know that every one of us loves it deeply. We wouldn't do what we do. We wouldn't give the countless hours. I wouldn't have given the countless hours. I wouldn't have touched that many staff t-shirts over the years if I hadn't loved this organization. I wouldn't have created or helped create, caretake is a better word, Altered Space all these years, or bring all the various people together in opening ceremony so that we can start our main stage in a beautiful way. So I want to call us together in that way, to come together, to find our differences and look beyond them. Thank you. Good luck, everybody.
Thank you, Indigo. Trevor, you're up next.
Hi, I'm Trevor Ross. I would like to thank all of the candidates, the staff that put this together, and I guess volunteers at large for at least my 40 years of participating here alongside everybody. I'm at a place in my life where I can give a little more to the fair. I've been just a volunteer for nearly 40 years, with a couple of years here as a co-coordinator with wristbands. And as I get deeper into the fair, I feel like I want to do more, and I have the time to do that now in my life. Bring some of my professional background and lived experience to the fair. And it is something I think everybody is passionate about, that is present here, is we are all passionate about this fair. I look forward to, if elected, I look forward to overcoming some of the difficult problems we have in front of us. We have a very strong tradition at this fair, the traditional things that have gone on for quite a while. And we also have, I think, an ask to evolve by some of the younger generations that grew up here. And so I think, you know, the tradition / evolution quandary we have transcends all of the issues that we're going to face in the next decade and beyond. So I look forward to working with the board if elected, and working and listening to our members, and let them tell us how to govern. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Trevor. Lawrence, you're up
Thanks.
next.
Thanks. Hi, LT here. Most of you, hopefully you got a chance to read the statement, and I imagine a lot of you know me. I will say that, first of all, I'm really appreciative of not only everybody who put this together, but anyone who's here, particularly on such a precious and gorgeous Sunday afternoon here in the Northwest, or wherever you happen to be. You're probably given up some beautiful free time to participate in this precious process and community that we have put together over the years. And if I don't, it feels to me like it's never been more precious and more important. And I would say also, to some degree, never been more at risk. And I mean, not only the changes that are happening on our planet, and I think that all of us who experienced this year's Dust Fair, I think it's part of a bigger issue. The environment outside of our direct community. I live here in Portland. I understand that federal troops are on their way in. Things are happening. And our life, our lifestyle, our values are on the line. And I think that the board, as the direct voice of the people and the community, this is an extraordinarily serious undertaking. I did it once for 18 years. I'm prepared to do it again. What I'd ask everyone to think about when deciding 1/3 of your board this year, as you do every year, we have 12 people whose task it is to embody the community. And so I'd ask everyone to think about what kind of a balance, what kind of a set of skills and qualities and traits do you want to select to represent you and to lead in the sense of to make decisions on your behalf that will affect every one of you. And what I have said in respect to why I'm running is you need a lawyer on the board.
Thank you. Kevin, you're up next.
Thanks, Brett. Hello, my name is Kevin Levy. I am a current director serving on the board and asking for re-election. Look on my phone, I'm reading a little bit. It's not something on here. Thank you to Brett and Rebecca and everyone that's put this on. Thank you, candidates, for showing up for the fair. I also want to send out a special thank you to everyone out there who a few years ago gave me a chance to be a part of this organization and to represent all of you. It's been an incredible experience and incredible for my own personal growth. A little bit about me. I've been going to the fair for a little over a decade now. I'm a crafter. I have a jewelry booth with my wife. I'm on Fairlife. I am a realtor, help represent my clients in the biggest financial transactions of their lives. A little bit, something folks might not know is that I'm also on the board of Oregon Realtors and hope to advocate for all the realtors in the entire state of Oregon. So what I can say is that my time on the board has been an amazing journey of personal growth and understanding of how the fair works and its many nuances. And representing the fair has easily been one of my biggest achievements. If elected again, I'll continue collaborating and working with everyone in this organization to get things done and try and have some fun at the same time. I've learned that a huge part of a director's job is to balance the needs of the fair and being able to focus on the long-term effects of decisions made and having that further purview. My goal is always to make sure to leave everything behind me better, and that the fair is here for generations to come, and have it be an open and welcoming board as well as organization. Leading by example is extremely important to me. And so one of the things I've learned is that this is a team sport. I'm here asking for your vote to be one of 12 with a mindset of bringing us all together to work as one. So hopefully, if you re-elect me, I'll be here to help. Thanks.
Thank you. John Alexander, you're up next.
Thank you very much. Sound check, good? Great. So I really want to start by thanking the board of directors that I've served with for the last 3 years. There's not a board member that I've served with in the last 3 years that I've agreed with on everything. And every single board member that I've served with, I've had disagreements with them of one kind or another. And so in thanking you, I hope in the future to seek to honor our differences, because I think that will make us stronger. And if we elevate our differences and elevate our disagreements, it can help us better reflect our fair, because we are a group of different people. I want to thank the Get Out the Vote crew for all that you do, especially in engaging our membership in this important way. It's not the only way to be engaged, but it's an important way to be engaged. And I want to thank the membership. The OCF and Therefore You has changed my life and shaped my family and my work. It penetrates everything I do. And I thank you all for that. I've been at the fair for over 20 years. I've been in Community Village representing the nonprofit organization I founded, Klamath Bird Observatory there. I want to thank Community Village for the support they've given me too. I want to speak to our mission and our purpose. And you know, what I've learned from the fair serves as a model to encourage the exchange of discussion of ideas in an alternative community focused on the inspiring purpose and mission that we have. Through the choices that we make in our lifestyles that are based on living artfully and authentically, and again, I lean on our mission and our purpose, we can model a collaborative spirit that can nourish not only ourselves, but the world. In an authentic way, and hopefully transform the world. And this is why this has changed my life and affects everything that I do. That's 5 seconds, huh? I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much.
Thanks, John. Noah, you're up next. Oh, you have to take yourself off mute.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, I want to start by thanking Indigo directly for thanking me, to thank you for reminding me to breathe. I'm not used to speaking in public, so good afternoon. My name is Noah Person. I've been a volunteer at the fair for about 30 years, mostly with pre-post. My kids and family have grown up at the fair, and I'm interested in the board position so I can volunteer on a different level. I feel as though I can use my skill sets, the skill sets from my regular work life, and be a valuable contribution to the OCF Board of Directors, the members of the fair attendees, and the longevity of the fair. And I just want to thank everyone for being here today. It's a great day.
Great. Thanks, Noah.
Yeah.
And Felicia, you're going to round us out here with the opening statements.
All right. Thank you. All right. I am going to read something and try not to look like I'm reading too much. So a governance board, which is what we're running for, is responsible for providing strategic direction, ensuring financial stability, overseeing management, and holding the organization accountable to stakeholders. I would like to share with you a bit about my professional work and what I can bring to the board. Over the past 11 years, I have owned and operated restaurants in Eugene and Springfield. For the past 10, for the first 10, I managed our staff and focused on the operations of our business. This involved cooking on the line to ensure the quality of, sorry, I lost my place, the smooth functioning, efficiency, productivity, and quality control. I was responsible for hiring and firing and human resources. This past year, I have completely removed myself from the day-to-day operations of our kitchen and now focus on oversight. This includes financials, budgeting, and working closely with our executive chef who implements policy, much the same as our board works with our executive director to implement policy. I am our catering coordinator. I work directly with the public and with the front of house manager at Claim 52. I'm constantly answering emails and sending invoices and following up. My experience includes permitting and reading legal contracts, these contracts have been up to 40 pages and need to be reread and re-signed every 1 to 3 years. I have edited and changed parts of almost every contract that I have read. I have been working at the OCF for 20 years. I have worked in food booths, and now I help set up Farside. If you're more interested, I wrote a lot about my experience in my candidate statement. On Mondays, I wander the 8 with a 5-gallon bucket, and I pick up everything that I can find on the ground.
Felicia?
I usually, go ahead.
So that's been 2 minutes, but don't
Okay.
worry. We have plenty more time to come. And do want to remind everyone that all of these great candidates have their candidate statement and information available on the OregonCountryFair.net site. If you go there and click on elections, you can find links to all of that additional information. Everyone who's ever been a coordinator at the fair knows how important it is to have an amazing co-coordinator to help you. I am so lucky to have Rebecca, and I'm going to turn it over to her now. She's going to take us into the first round of questions submitted by members.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you all for being here. We'll move into questions. And as a reminder, we are rotating the order. So Trevor will start first. I'll prompt everyone as we go, just like Brett did just now on the statements, opening statements. And I will paste the questions into the chat, but please ask me to repeat anything if necessary at any point as we go along. Okay, so the first question we had submitted, we're going to ask is, in your view, what are the top 3 priorities that the fair needs to focus on to ensure a strong and vibrant future? Top 3 priorities for the fair to focus on to ensure a strong and vibrant future. Pop that in the chat. And Trevor, you are up.
Okay, thank you. Wow, top 3. I think the fair, I think quite obviously needs to continue to have a functioning board that has a diverse set of skills and perspectives that can continue to listen and implement policy and oversight with operations. I feel that we have a lot of change in front of us. So the second topic would be site management in the context of, it sounds like dust this year is coming up, and we have our the borer beetle problem that we need to take care of. And then I think another priority is to continue to listen to the fair membership around what they want to keep and what they want to do new. We have a lot of tradition here. We're rooted in the traditions of our past, but we also have, you know, a new world ahead of us, and we have a lot of generational participation now that I think we need to be listening both to both ends of that spectrum and to keep this fair the most exciting and unique thing on earth. Thank you.
Thank you, Trevor. Lawrence, you are up next.
Thanks. I think I'd summarize the 3 top immediate priorities as gate, land, and population. I say number 1, gate, because without the financial basis, we can't do any of the things we want to do. That's what's unique about this particular nonprofit, is that unlike a typical nonprofit that has a specific goal that they work on, and then they spend most of their time trying to get the money they need to do what it is they want to do, we have a built-in financial stream, and everything we do depends upon that. So that ties into the next thing, which is land, the preservation, the maintenance of the health of our space. Dust is a good example of a threat to that, which we saw. There are and have been good ideas employed to reduce that. Some of those need to come back in. There may be new ideas. We need to protect our trees. We know the ash borer is coming. We need to and want to maintain a vibrant space physically. And it is, in fact, I think everyone feels the sacred nature of that space. We heard the land acknowledgement. We know that we have a responsibility to the land that is bigger than we are. And the third one I would say is population. That means not only how many people we've got, but the nature of those people. Diversity is an aspect of our population, and there are dilemmas and challenges involved in having enough space for everybody who wants to be there, and being a welcoming space for folks who haven't had an opportunity to be there. So I think if we keep those three at the top of our attention, that we can move into the future. And I think everybody who's part of the fair wants it for their children and their grandchildren and all the folks who want to be part of it.
Thank you, Lawrence. Kevin, you're next.
Thanks. I'd say three priorities that I'm definitely always looking at, infrastructure, budgeting, population, kind of the same thing, and definitely the Emerald Ash Borer. So infrastructure, of course, a lot of work we've been doing on the property. A lot of buildings are old, a lot of things need redone. We're working on, redoing main camp, needs work. We have the dust problem that we've all experienced. I was one of them. I complained about it. I'm on the board. And so, you've got that. I think that's something that's very important. We've got to make sure, look after the land. Budgeting. We didn't sell out all the tickets this year, right? We didn't have exactly a stellar year. There are a lot of festivals that are out there that are struggling, and we should not be overconfident about ours. I think we're the best ones ever, but we should definitely be watching that and making sure that we're keeping an eye on what we can do to get more folks in there, to keep it affordable, to make sure that we're putting on a good event that makes us the top ones. EAB, we know that it's in Portland, so I mean, it might as well be here now, as far as I'm concerned. And so I think it's something we should definitely be getting ahead of and planning for. And it's interesting now being on the board and being able to kind of see how everything interweaves. We've got to look at this positively. The EAB's coming. Okay, what opportunities does that create? Opportunity for us to get behind booths and have a green path or something cool like that? Maybe not. But either way, I think it's something we should definitely be focused on. Again, population is definitely something we have to talk about as well. Are we maxed out with our systems, and how can the infrastructure support all of us, or perhaps even more of us? Or if not, how do we make it work for all of us? So I think there's definitely some challenges. So I appreciate the question.
Thank you, Kevin. John Alex. Oh, we only have one John this year. It's the first time there's been one John. John, just John. Go ahead.
Hey, all right. Yeah. I'll double down on EAB. Thank you, Kevin. As a board member, I've been facilitating the EAB task force. We're using standard methods of conservation planning to write a response plan for the fair through an engaged committee that's working really well together. I encourage you to take a look at the last Fair Family News at the values-based objectives matrix that we're using to run everything that we think about in writing this plan through. This is a process I've used to raise millions of dollars for oak woodland conservation in Southern Oregon and throughout Oregon. So I'm bringing my professional experience to the conservation planning for EAB. Number two, I think we need to foster an inclusive nature that encourages engagement with our board. We need to lean on the next generations to guide us, the institutional knowledge of our membership and our elders to inform us, and our committees and all the people that are doing the work here. I think that this needs to be about a board that you all are proud of, not a power board, but an empowering board. A board that empowers you all. And to do that, in my candidate statement, I offered three proposals that I put forward that I think the board needs to do some work internally to make you all proud of us. And I offered three proposals in detail that are in a line with the Nonprofit Association of Oregon's recommendation to us, including developing solution-focused motions through more inclusive and thorough dialogue, that we don't wait until the day we vote on this stuff, to clarify the responsibilities, authorities, and expectations of our president and vice president, and to create a board-centered process for holding ourselves accountable for the board's code of conduct.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Noah, your turn.
All right. I think infrastructure is probably number one as far as importance, the way I see it. Without the infrastructure, obviously, things break down. And keeping it robust is critical. A balance of population is also critical. I agree with LT on that for sure. And then I think inclusion would be number 3 on that list. I hear a lot from attendees how they feel that they're at a party that they haven't really been invited to. And I think that causes a kind of a rift between fair family and attendees. And I hear from people who don't go to the fair for that reason. They feel like they're at a private party. So that's where I'd leave that.
Thank you, Noah. And finishing this question up, Felicia.
Thank you. And I think Indigo's going after me, right?
Oh, yep.
Um,
Sorry, you're already messing this job up. Thank you,
Perfect.
Felicia.
Yeah. So I think first and foremost, we do need to address the most pressing issue, which is the emerald ash borer. It is an exotic insect that was discovered in Forest Grove in 2022, and it's already taking over our forests. They say that within the next 10 years, 99% of our forest will be dead. Our ash forest will be dead. So I'm part of a task force, I guess, or a group of people that are collecting seeds to help find insect resistant strains and species, sending them to OSU. So that's number one. I think that just as important is the dust and the air quality. I would like to see the paths return to grass, and I have a couple of ideas on how to do that. And I also think we need to put a little bit of regulation on the gators to keep the carbon monoxide down and the dust. And then, third, definitely, I'd say I do population and sanitation. I only know that you want one. Population, I would say that we need to do an audit of where all of these passes are going and make sure that they're getting used correctly in our fair family to begin with, to make room for the guests to come and enjoy the fair with us.
Thank you, Felicia. And
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I think that all the particular issues that we have and the things that are up and real that we need to deal with are important. But I also think there's some meta things that are also really important for this community. And there's a call that I want to make to curiosity and inquiry. There's a lot of projection and blame and assumption of what other people think, and rather than asking, getting curious. Hey, what do you think? Why do you think that? Why do you want to do it that way? Oh, okay, now I understand. So in that bigger meta sense, as a community, I think that's really important. There's a lot of division and a lot of fracture. So how are we getting curious, and how are we asking questions of each other? How are we then listening to those answers so that we can all move forward in a good way? I think caretaking the land is essential. The land under us is our foundation. All the particular issues that will become operationalized, we have to figure out what we as a board need to do in that policy realm to help make sure that the land is being cared for. Because ultimately the land doesn't belong to us. We belong to the land, all the animals, the insects, the trees, they all own it. We just get it right now. And there have been others long before us who caretake that land. And then the third thing is to ensure our governance systems are operating smoothly, openly, and transparently. And that we all stay within our agreed upon roles and responsibilities, whatever that means for each of us. For me as a director on the board, it's that I have ears, that I listen to you, the membership. What do you need? How do we weave that together to move forward in a good way? And what policy is needed so operations can do that thing. And then the last quick thing is, how do we in that governance place assess prior decisions to see if it's actually still working, or what are the ripples of those decisions, both good and positive and not so good. Thank you.
Thanks, Indigo. Okay, I'm going to move on to our next question. Lawrence, you'll be first on this one. This question is, what makes you an outstanding addition to the board of directors? What can you offer the OCF board that is not already being represented by the current board members?
I'm glad you asked me that. If you look back through our history, if you look at the makeup of our boards going back to the beginning, almost always there has been at least one attorney on the board, whether it's Jill Hyman or Martha Evans or Mary Wagner, Charlie Zanashi, who was on when I was elected, Bear Wilner Nugent, who served with me. There was always, or almost always, an attorney on the board. Since I left the board in 2017, there hasn't been one. Now, I don't think a board that has 12 attorneys or even 3 is necessarily a good idea. But what I do think is that one person whose training is in critical thinking, in the making of distinctions, logical distinctions, and in understanding and interpreting and applying statutes is a skill that the board needs. And I think we have seen recently there have been a couple of instances in which the application of statutes and the interpretation of statutes, particularly in relation to governance of a nonprofit, and in particular in relation to the right of members to vote, there have been issues on that, and there have been frankly, misinterpretations of very straightforward statutory requirements. Fortunately, there were enough folks on the board to prevent those things from happening, but there were a lot of folks who were willing to vote to enact motions that were in fact contrary to Oregon law. And as I say, I believe that at least one lawyer on the board is an incredible value, and that I believe is the unique skill that I would bring to the table.
Thank you, Lawrence. Kevin, you're up next on this one.
Okay, thanks. So, being on the board is kind of weird. So what I could say is what makes me an outstanding re-addition to the board is my focus on collaboration. So you've probably heard me literally say it in a meeting. You folks are voting us in there to work together. That's what we're here to do. And so big focus of mine on the board already is to do just that. And so a lot of times I will work on trying to get board members together in person, just to be able to connect together and be able to learn more about each other. For me, a focus on, like I said, keeping that, that true north of representing the fair, and making sure that we're leading by example by learning how to disagree together. And so a big part of what my contribution would be is to learn how to understand each other better, how to figure out how we process just our general thinking pattern. We all think a little bit, we all think differently, we all process things differently. Some folks, need more time to process. Some folks can go right, can respond immediately on things. And so I think a lot of learning about each other's strengths and weaknesses, but not taking advantage of them, is something that I want to focus on, because again, it'll help us work better together by knowing that, oh, well, you know what, like Kevin needs some time to think about that. So let's give him a little bit more time to think about it, because I know that he just wants to process that more, or what have you. And so for me, it is really about that. Feels a little pie in the sky, but it is a thing. We have to learn how to agree together, and especially how to disagree together in the best way possible, so we can come back to the table and all get back to the mission and hug it out. So thanks.
Thank you, Kevin. John, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think as a returning member, coming after Kevin is nice, because obviously Kevin's reflecting that some of that's not always done. And so I think that I'm going to continue to bring an objective approach. When things get subjective, I kind of turn off, and I'm not going to reply subjectively or personally, and I'm going to continue to reply and put forth my opinions in an objective way. And that we need more of that. I am committed to doing that, and committing to reset myself in doing that. This board has been a learning experience, that's for sure. I also bring a career, 30 plus years of nonprofit work as a founding executive director of a thriving nonprofit organization, with the wrecking ball of the federal government coming my way, but it hadn't quite hit us yet. And I've served on foundations, I've served on federal advisory committees, I've served on all sorts of different governing bodies like this body. I've done a lot of community service. I have a lot of experience with different kind of facilitation approaches and agenda building. I wish that would be taken more advantage of, but it's been really exciting to be able to do that with the Emerald Ash Borer Task Force. And I encourage you to reach out to those folks and ask them how that's going. And you know, my experience in Community Village over 20 years before being on the fair was this learning about consensus. And while I understand that the board can't always reach consensus, we certainly can strive for consensus. And the last 3 years on the board has really brought my appreciation and understanding of what it is a community village tries to do and does well back to what we're doing here. Not suggesting that everything's going to be consensus driven, but it certainly is an ideal to seek. So, and I'm going to continue to speak truth, my truth, even if it's unpopular.
Thank you, John. You guys are all doing great with the timer today. Okay, next you, Noah.
All right. Well, not being on the current board, I'm not really certain of all the current board strengths, but I can share some of mine. I'm a serial entrepreneur with 40 years of business experience. I am adept at budgeting and negotiations. I have a background in sales and communications and continue to self-educate and practice these skills. I have previous board experience on both nonprofit and for-profit companies. And as a merchant mariner, captain, and contractor, I'm able to provide leadership, and I'm used to working with very diverse groups of people and personalities. I'll bring new, fresh perspective and new ideas.
Excellent. Thank you, Noah.
Yeah.
Felicia, your turn.
All right. Yeah, I also do not serve on the board, and I haven't sat and sat in an internal meeting. I have watched quite a few board meetings online. I feel like I bring to the board a fresh set of ears. I'm a very good listener. I'm very good at hearing the important parts, hearing all of the parts, and understanding which are the important parts that we really do need to connect to make better decisions. I find myself in a constant practice, and I'm really quite good at continuing to listen to people and not just thinking about what my answer is going to be. I'm really retaining this conversation. So that, I think, is probably one of my strongest strengths. I am an independent thinker. I like to come up with what I think is the most honest answers, and really kind of a truth seeker. So that's what I have. Yeah.
Thank you, Felicia. Indigo, your turn.
Yeah, same. I'm, not super clear on all the skills beyond what I've seen and the actions that I've witnessed. But I have a lot of nonprofit experience, both sides of the table, both in a board of directors, not just the Oregon Country Fair, but other boards. I've been in officer roles of other boards, as well as this board. I sit as an executive director of a nonprofit currently, so I know what that is to be in operations and policy both, as do many of us sitting here. I think one of the things that I don't see on the board, I've been holding a role of that psycho-spiritual juvenation at the fair for a long time. And though I have all the administration skills and I have all the organizational skills and I have all the facilitation skills, I also have this other skill of really just listening deeply, not just to the people, but to the land, to the pulse of the spirit of the energy. I'm going to talk woo now, but the movement that moves around us and amongst us, and that magic that calls us back again and again, that magic that aligns us into the right experience at the right moment that we need when we're at the fair. We all represent that. Right. We all experience that in little and big ways. And I want to anchor that at the board level. So it's not just all policy and procedure and how are we really embracing the magic of our mission, right? What is our mission at the fair? What is our purpose? It's written down. We have it. We know it. And that psycho-spiritual rejuvenation is one of the purposes. And I really want to sit in that seat here for us, with you. So thank you.
Thank you, Indigo. Trevor, you'll close this one out for us.
Okay, thank you. I guess as somebody who hasn't been on the board, I have watched the meetings, some of the more current meetings. I can't really say what would be a strength or weakness needed. I would bring my lived experience to the fair board. I sit currently as a professional land surveyor at Lane County as a deputy county surveyor. I've been practicing surveying for over 20 years. Within that context, I've also been an at-home dad. I've been on several boards in the past and currently both nonprofit and quasi-nonprofit. Some of my accomplishments recently is I'm very proud of my staff at my office. We received a state award for Team Player of the Year amongst the professional land surveyors of Oregon, which is very surprising to us given that we're a government agency. But we do strive to listen and to collaborate with all of our counterparts. And we're not always in agreement. And to be able to get some sort of award that acknowledges our efforts I was overjoyed to hear that. I also have legislative success in lobbying at the state on behalf of the Oregon Association of County Engineers and Surveyors. We made some great progress in some statutes. It's very important to us. And so I take those experiences. I've had some entrepreneur experiences that have given me a very broad base of having to understand, listen, and oversee varied organizations. So if elected, I promise to bring everything I have to this board and to the membership. Thank you.
Thanks, Trevor. Okay, next question I'll read now, and Kevin, you'll be first on this one. How do you think the fair should respond when individuals engage in divisive or harmful behavior on social media or online, particularly when those individuals then are being considered for committee appointments or other leadership roles within the organization? It's kind of long, so I'm going to read it again. How do you think the fair should respond when individuals engage in divisive or harmful behavior online, social media, particularly when they are then being considered for committee appointments or other leadership roles within the fair? And you can start us off, Kevin.
Thanks. So this is an interesting one. So that's tough. So I would say, really, it's a conundrum, right? We all know these things. We've all seen folks that are kind of doing these things, and then they're like, hey, can I come over and hang out? And it's just, wait a minute. And so it's hard when folks are kind of engaging in this behavior and then want to be a part of the organization, because it's kind of what it's asking. And so really it's about, analyzing that harmful behavior, seeing, were they defending themselves? What's happening here? What is the real truth here? Because it makes a difference. If we see folks online doing that, is that a representation of their true personalities? This is the question. And it's also, when you're on the board, when you're in any position professionally in the public's eye or anything like that, you should, for sure, you're representing your organization, right? You're representing yourself as well as the organization. Really, I don't think we should have anyone should be it shouldn't be acceptable to engage in divisive or harmful behavior at all, really. And so I get it, it's free speech. And so really, there's only so much we can tell folks that they can't say. But it's really about if you feel that it's okay to do that there, how would they feel if it was them and if the shoes were switched, if they were on the committee and they were in a position, someone was acting in that way and they were about to come to your committee, how would you feel about it, right? I think if we asked ourselves, how we want to be treated, I think we might get some different responses from folks. I know there's, pages out there dedicated to this, but I will still be here to represent them regardless if they're members. And so I just hope we can be nice to each other and represent what the fair means, being kind and loving. And so thanks.
Thanks, Kevin. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, great, thanks. Well, I think I would start that question with the board. And how do we hold ourselves accountable to those things? In my first year on the board, at my first retreat, we all agreed not to participate in social media in those ways. And we all agreed that if we did participate at all, we would try to be objective, and we would state that in our participation, we were not speaking for the board, or we were speaking for ourselves. And I'm not even sure if that means we're speaking as a board member or as an officer or whatever it might be. I was involved in developing the first draft of the Code of Conducts with Paxton, Tom Horn, and Arna. I got to facilitate a public meeting with our membership that was, I think, received really well in doing that. A version of that Code of Conduct has been passed, but that version does not have any board-centered accountability. So the only accountability we have on the board would be to go to Fair Care, which I don't think that's a tax of our resources. I think we need to, I didn't join this board to become a cop, but we need to hold ourselves accountable to our codes of conduct. I'm not even sure whether our Google group that we use on the board, currently we treat that as confidential. But I think confidential are things that are legally confidential as outlined in the bylaws. And so I'm not really sure. I think we need to have a discussion about whether those behaviors on our own feed is okay, and how do we deal with those, and how do we internally hold ourselves accountable. Do the Code of Conducts for the Oregon Country Fair apply to us when we're online with each other in non-official OCF forums? Is a really good question, and that might be a question that we should ask Fair Care. I'm also interested, I've been working with a couple people on the board on a proposal to ask, what are the perceived problems out there, and how do the community support complaints align with those, and how are they being resolved? I think would be an interesting thing to really understand. And I'm out of time. I can't see the last couple seconds on that, but I'll leave it at that.
Timing.
Thanks.
Yeah, you were right on
Appreciate
point. Okay, thank you, John. Noah, you're up next on this one.
All right. This sounds like a legal question. I think, social media, I don't use it myself, but it seems to be very powerful, and your voice is amplified. So I would defer to attorneys on this one, but I will say this. In my previous companies, when this has happened, and it has, it's been a disqualifier. I've let people go for this. But with an organization like the Fair, I would send this to legal. It's black and white for me.
Okay, thanks, Noah.
Yeah.
Felicia, your turn.
Yeah, I really like what Noah said. I feel like everything that you post online and just, your conduct in public is public information. When you're choosing people to be on a committee, I don't see any reason why that would be off the table. But I would definitely need to examine the Code of Conduct and see exactly what it says in it, and kind of see where what happens falls into that. I do believe strongly that people can change. I feel like that would also be visible too, just as visible as what they did. We would be able to also see what they are doing, because we all deserve forgiveness when we realize what we did wrong. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thanks, Felicia. Indigo?
Okay, just because here it is, our code of conduct. We are an association of equals. Each member of our community is entitled to respectful and equitable treatment by all other participants. The guidelines apply whenever and wherever we gather for OCF-sponsored activities. The Oregon Country Fair is committed to the principles of nonviolence and non-discrimination. Hate speech, verbal or written threats, physical, sexual, mental, verbal, or emotional abuse will not be tolerated and can be grounds for suspension or removal from OCF property, volunteer positions, committees, or other OCF activities. We share reverence for the land. Stewardship is everyone's responsibility. Please help protect the plant and animal life whose space we share and work to extend this practice beyond the OCF into daily life. As Bill Wooten, one of our founders, wrote, this is a community of choice, of reason, rather than by the chance of birth. Reason is found more each day on the side of cooperation, conservation, and community. Reason stands with those who reduce their wants and simplify their needs, which lessens demand upon the world's resources. Reason stands with those who do not ask the world to do for them, but what they can do for themselves. Reason stands with those who treat neighbors as friends, friends as family, and this earth as our one and only home. Let us stand together. It stands to reason. To endure is to prevail, quote unquote. I think we know what our code of conduct is. I think each of us have to step even more into ourselves to look at why we need to write things online that is hurtful. I think using online to ask questions, to be curious and inquire is important. But how we respond and what we say does a lot, especially as directors, because we're not just individuals in this seat, we represent community. Thank you.
Thank you, Indigo. Trevor, you can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for reading that, Indigo. My perspective on this is that, yeah, we have a freedom of speech right here in this country, but that's limited to the government. As an organization, we have codes of conduct that we can then use for governance. And so I don't use social media. I stay away from it as much as I can because of its caustic nature and because of its divisiveness and because it is not truly conversation from behind a keyboard. And so it is a user beware format that your words have meaning and they have impact either in a positive or negative way. And if you don't represent yourself within our code of conduct in the context of your participation in the fair, then the policies will be enforced, hopefully. And so my perspective is that we implement policy in these matters. And if we need more policy or we need to create more clear policy, then that's what we should be working on. But I think when people, go open format on social media to use inappropriate language or assert things inappropriately, it does reflect on you and it does reflect on the fair. And I think, we need to take it seriously in the context of people wanting to participate at a more deeper level, but then on the other side of it, tearing people down or creating divisiveness. So that's my perspective. Thank you.
Thanks, Trevor. And Lawrence, finally, go ahead.
Thank you. I would start with the code of conduct as a foundation for how we communicate, if we communicate online. I think the wiser approach is probably not to do it at all. I would say that board members and officers have to be held to a higher standard. I overall, as a free speech advocate, the general rule is that the solution to bad speech is good speech. The solution to harmful and hateful speech is healing speech and loving speech. I would say that the question of what's meant by divisive is one that needs to be addressed, because there is speech for the sake of division, and there is speech that simply expresses differences of opinion and differences of position, and we have that. I would say that there has been an alarming example of this sort of thing in this election cycle, in which an officer of this organization publicly stated that several of the candidates are interested in burning it down, that they are essentially destructive, trying to return us to chaos or fragmentation. I think that would be inappropriate for anybody to say. For the president of this fair to make those kinds of incendiary statements about candidates, some of whom has spent decades in positions of responsibility and authority in this organization, and whom everyone who has dealt with knows that those just aren't true statements. But for that sort of thing to be used in a campaign, I think is entirely inappropriate. I would really call upon the people who were endorsed by this individual to reject, if not the endorsement, at least the incendiary language.
Thank you, Lawrence. Okay, moving on to the next question. John, you'll start this one off. Would you support, as a board member, providing a designated camping and vehicle space for Native American tribal peoples to open the process of uniting all people in celebration at the Oregon Country Fair? What other ways can the fair acknowledge the people and history of the land we hold our event on and make progress in that way? So, John, you can go ahead and start us off.
Yeah. The idea I support completely, but the process is really important. And I think that and I think this is important for our role as we continue to move forward in the Emerald Ash Borer work that we're doing, is how do we best as leadership of the board engage our tribes? And I do a lot of this work professionally, and it's slow and it's careful. And I'm hearing listening. You know, there's a lot of listening. So I'd first want to know if that's what not only the members of our fair who are tribal associates or tribal members, but the leadership of the tribes. What is it that they would like? I was moved by the OPB section and how graceful the tribal representatives were to us as a fair. And I think there's a huge opportunity. So in general, yes, but I think it's more about process and how do we engage with tribes in a slow and steady way that meets their needs, their underfunded and overworked needs, to ensure that we're compensating for the kind of opinions that we need to ask for to get this kind of thing up and running. And I would love to see a more clear, I know we have good relationships, but a more clear set of relationships about how we interact with the tribes, not only on the lands that we inhabit, but in Oregon and throughout the Pacific Northwest. So I think it's about process. That's a solution, but we want to make sure that's the right solution, and that's not our call to make it.
Thanks, John. Noah, you're next on this one.
Yeah, I agree with John. The idea is definitely worth exploring, but I feel very undereducated to just shoot off an opinion on this. I have not considered this at all, so I would leave it at that.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah.
Noah.
Yeah.
Felicia, you're up next.
All right. I would absolutely support that. But in the same way, I would, as John was saying, I would very much want to listen to what is wanted, you know, and see how we can accommodate that. I think oftentimes we want to help people, and we're like, oh, I'm doing all these things to help you, and they're just like, that's not helpful to me, you know. So I would absolutely be in support of that, and really I would love to hear what they would want to do and what we can do. So yes.
Thanks, Felicia. Indigo?
I think that we're all sort of mirroring a similar response to some degree, and I echo much of what's been said here. I think it's really important to have a consultation with them, right? And to find out what their protocols are, to find out what their needs are, and carving out a small piece of camping spot for them during the event. Maybe they want that. Maybe that's a good thing for them. But maybe they want to have opportunity to gather when the camas is ready for harvesting, and they want to be able to teach their children how to remember how to cook the camas in the special way it needs to be cooked, right? Maybe they would appreciate a land for their families to gather for a ceremony that honors their traditions, right? There's these kind of things. And it's not about us thinking, oh, what could we do for them? But asking them, you know, what could this 500 plus minus acre land that is sacred to us and you do to support the whole? So, I don't think it's up to us as a board of directors to determine that for them, but I think it is absolutely up to us as an organization to honor the heritage and to find the ways to make bridges. Because like I said earlier, we don't own the land. All of us are dust one day, and the land's part of us, and they're part of the land, and the land's a part of them. So what can we learn from them? Right? As we look forward into the future that's uncertain and weather that's changing and all of that, what do they remember that can help us be stronger on our land? There's lots of things we can do to engage and become community together.
Thank you, Indigo. Your turn, Trevor.
Yeah, I think everybody spoke to this, you know, pretty clearly and you know, in a positive way towards this. I'm glad you brought up Indigo to take it outside of that context of just a camping spot. I think that was what came to mind, was a huge opportunity for a connection to the people that were here before us, and whose land we now occupy. I see an absolute, you know, positive impact to the fair if this were something that we could work through, and have them be, you know, fully engaged and feel like it, you know, that they have a place year round at the fair in the capacity they want to use it. My daughter is in forestry and in fire management, and some of her studies were with Indigenous peoples fire management. And then I see that, you know, as just one example of something that we can use, is their knowledge and wisdom that they bring to us that, you know, I think has been forgotten. They can teach us a lot, and we can, you know, and they can learn from us too. So I think it's a very positive notion, and I would look forward to navigating that with the board.
Thanks, Trevor. Go ahead, Lawrence.
I think almost everything has been covered. First of all, making this an open hand, reaching out to say, and an open mind to hear what the people want, and to give to the people of these lands what we can share, and learn what we can learn. I had it was a good opportunity, the last fairs, to go over to the native craft areas, and to talk to the people, and to hear from. And it was a great and special treat for me, because one of them was from the Dakotas. You know, my mother, who just passed a couple years ago, was an enrolled member of the Yanktonai Dakota Nation, born on the reservation. My great-grandfather, I'm white. My great-grandfather was most decidedly and obviously Native. And I had the good fortune to spend time with him when I was very young, and so it's personal for me. But I think that it is for all of us, in that sense, that we know what we're the heirs to. We know what crimes have been committed on all of our behalves to get where we are. We know what gifts have been given to us in terms of being entrusted with this sacred space, this ancient sacred gathering space. And so recognizing what it's about, what it's for, and sharing it in accordance with what the people of this place really want. I think everybody seems to be on the same page there. I'm glad to hear it.
Thanks, Lawrence. And finally, Kevin.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with everyone else. I would love to work with them with whatever capacity they would want to be there, if they do or if they don't. I feel like, so again, same thing with everyone else. What I can say with other ways that the fair can acknowledge the people and the history of the land, I think we could have more information booths, more information kind of, placards and things all around the fair. We could have it on every part of the path there where, you just have a board with some of the history or of that area or that spot, even on the path, and how it's regarded to them. And so, yeah, I think that would be wonderful, actually. It's just a matter of what would they want, right? Like, and so definitely don't want to, lead them or drag them into the event to make ourselves feel better or anything like that. But like, I definitely would love to see that. And I think we could do better by having better, we could do more presentations or things on stages, more history. We could have more history, kind of like the OPB special, do more documentaries on the land, things like that. I think that would be wonderful. And so I think we could definitely do more to acknowledge the people in the history. And so I'm open to whatever that looks like. Thanks.
Thank you, Kevin. All right, we're just past the halfway point. Brett's going to make a couple announcements. Everyone take a breath, shake it out. It's a lot of talking. Thank you all so much for all your earnest responses. And go ahead, Brett. What do we want to say?
Thanks, Rebecca. I think we've Get Out the Vote has hosted this forum a little over 10 times now, sometime between 10 and 15 times. And I have to say, you can tell a lot about what's on Fair Family's mind by the questions that we get submitted. This is probably the first time we've ever not received questions about porta potties, smoking, or amplified sound. So you're all off the hook. You're not getting that question this year, but almost every other year you can guarantee one of those would come in. Just a reminder for folks watching us on YouTube, 98% of us are going to vote virtually this year online. You do not have to use a stamp to send a ballot back. So ballots have been emailed out. Check your spam. If you didn't see it in your inbox, do a search for Oregon Country Fair. If you look and you can't find it, reach out to the Elections Committee at elections@OregonCountryFair.org. Ballots are due Saturday, October 18th by 8 p.m. The nice thing is you can vote at 7:59, but don't wait till then. Get it done as soon as possible. If you're returning a paper ballot, they must be received at the office by 8 p.m. on the 18th. The results will be posted on the 19th. And once again, just a reminder, you can meet all of these candidates once again on October 11th. At the annual membership meeting. Thought I got the dates mixed up there. October 11th, annual membership meeting, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. at Unitarian Universalist Church in Eugene, or also on YouTube. So that is that. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Rebecca, for our next round of questions.
Thanks, Brett. Yeah, it's interesting what comes through. It's also the first year we don't have any questions about vaccines or COVID or spacing or masks. I'm not saying whether that's good or bad, just pointing that out, that there's been an evolution. We are moving forward. Okay, next question. And Noah, you'll be starting us off this time. Would you support the acquisition, volunteer staffing, and maintenance of an ambulance by and for OCF, given the current situation, which is that there can be a $4,000 plus cost if a hurt performer or staff or patron needs an ambulance ride? And the second part of that question is, do you have any other ideas for how we can make the fair a safer event for all, kind of generally speaking? So that is in the chat, and you can go ahead, Noah.
Again, this is something I had not considered. I would support the fair owning its own ambulance. I think we're remote enough where it warrants that. I'm not sure what the price of an ambulance ride is otherwise, but I'm sure it's not that far off $4,000. And what was the other part of the question here?
And then also, do you have other ideas for how we can make the fair a safer event for all, so we need less ambulances?
Off the cuff, no. It seems, it seems fairly safe. Things happen at large events. So I don't know how to put more rubber on the walls for this. But I'm willing to, I love hearing other people's ideas on this, and it definitely gets things rolling on my side. So
Thanks, Noah.
Yeah.
How about you, Felicia?
All right. Yes, I would support an ambulance. I know Whitebird is staffed by medical professionals, doctors, paramedics, firefighters. So it's definitely not out of, in my opinion, the ability. And as far as making the fair more safe, maybe having I know when my kids were little, the fair had wristbands. I'd have to ask for them, and they would just they were paper wristbands, and we'd write my kid's phone number on them and put them on. That definitely made me feel safer as a parent. So maybe encouraging that, safer for children. Honestly, the most unsafe thing that I've ever seen at Oregon Country Fair was the Saturday night when it rained. And we were in mud all Sunday, and it was so fun. But I saw a woman break her leg, and that to me made me sad, because I actually saw her this last fair, and she wasn't walking; she was actually being pulled around in a wagon, much the same as she was after she broke her leg. So she probably has a long-term injury from that. That's too bad. But I have no idea how you could make the fair safer after it rains, because it's just all clay. But I also am really impressed with how safe the fair seems, even for our children. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Felicia. Indigo, your turn.
Yeah, I think before I would support or not support the acquisition of an ambulance, I'd want to hear from our operations. I'd want to hear from the bums. I'd want to hear from the medical coordinators about what their opinion is. Do we need such a thing? Would that serve the fair? What are any legal or insurance ramifications of operating said vehicle, right? There's a lot of questions there that I'd want to have answered before I would just say yes. It sounds great. Yay, we have that. We could do our own thing, but I'd want to make sure that all the dots are crossed and T's are dotted or flip that. I think one of the ways we make the fair safer event for all is that we all watch out for each other better. Right? We all play out at the fair. Some of us play hard. Some of us play not as hard. Some of us, need a little more support. Some of us need a little less. So I think it's really about each of us calling in our inner supporter to make sure, oh, there's a branch, and helping the person over, and having our perspective a little bit wider than whatever the myopic thing we're tripping on in the moment. It's a festival in the woods. There's trees and roots. there's branches that fall. There's, thousands upon thousands of us that show up, and injury is going to happen. But I think overall we have a pretty decent track record given the scope of what we build and put away every year. Could we do better? Yeah, probably. And I think that's a bigger conversation than I can answer in 8 more seconds. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thanks, Indigo. Go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah, I think the idea of a dedicated emergency vehicle for the benefit of the fairgoers is a great idea. Whether a purchase is necessary or there's some other means we can explore to create an affordable option for people that get injured, so that it's not something that becomes then a financial burden on somebody who happens to get, need help and to get off site and get to medical care. I know that, the staff at Whitebird, my wife has staffed it in the past. They're incredible, and they're a huge resource, and they're connected to the medical community. And so I would definitely look forward to looking at that option and fleshing that out, and seeing if that's something that we could provide in some manner. In terms of a safer fair, I do believe we run for the amount of people we run every year, we're pretty safe. Accidents happen. But I think, if we're to open that lens up a little bit, it would be to reaffirm our commitment to some of the key things that we need as a small town, which is water and sanitation. Those need to be robustly supported along with security, even traffic. I mean, all these have potential safety risks down to the food we eat. So I think, making sure that we properly staff and financially support these key crews is vital to the health of the people that come to our fair. Thank you.
Thanks, Trevor. Go ahead, Lawrence.
Thank you. Whitebird Rock Medicine does a remarkable job. They operate a full field hospital. They have folks who can get out and get things done, and when need be, when it gets that serious, people can be taken off site to be helped. Our own beloved and most long-serving director, Paxton Hogue, was stricken with a medical emergency this last year and had to spend part of his fair in the hospital getting a direct feed. But thankfully, by Sunday afternoon, he was back home with us. My own partner, Lisa, former board member Lisa Parker, as she's sometimes known, was with Whitebird for a very long time. She's a nurse practitioner at this point, and then she informs me of some of these things. We have Lane Fire Authority has a direct working relationship with the fair to provide ambulance service. Now, I know where this particular thing comes from. There was a woman who was sadly very severely burned in an accident relating to an automobile, and was very upset with the response time in her personal experience regarding this past fair. And it sounded horrible and extremely painful, but I can tell you that she was back because she was on main stage at the midnight show talking about this very issue. I would say that we cannot be completely ready for every contingency. We have to think in terms of costs and benefits. But as Trevor already said, overall, we run a very safe event, and we have the medical staff to take care of almost everything on site, and we have the resources to get folks off site if need be.
Thanks, Lawrence. Go ahead, Kevin.
Thanks. Yeah, Zara nailed it. Right. It's a festival in the woods. May the odds be ever in your favor. Really, it is surprising how we can all run and dance and move around there through pitch black paths and come out pretty okay. Like, I know it's not a party to go to Whitebird. I've definitely been. I cut myself one time and it was like grazed a tendon, and it was pretty scary, but like they were great. And so when I hear something like this and I think about an ambulance for the fair, like my, being on the board, my, director here stand up a little bit thinking about just the, liabilities, costs, feasibility, things like that, to which I would love to have something like this. Maybe we can have OCF on it, a Peach ambulance. I think it'd be amazing, but we definitely do need to weigh, the benefits and costs and things like that, and whether it makes sense at all. How many do we need? Should we have a fleet? There's all questions to have, but I think it'd be great. As far as making the event safer, it's hard to, we're working on a safety manual. I know that is a process that's out there. That's always been kind of a thing where it's kind of, you can kind of do what you want, and people on top of buildings and trees and doing things and having fun. And so we just have to, I think, tighten that up a little bit as far as that goes. I think, there's a lot of tickets are sold online that could come with a safety link for folks, to give a heads up on things they should be careful of, things to be ready for, as well as cost for an ambulance. So be careful with what you're doing, and, allow folks to know their responsibilities. But as far as what we can do, yeah, like we can just keep trying, I think, and just have, maybe more mooring markers for trip falls and things, and just keep working on the infrastructure. And so, yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Kevin. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, well, just to kind of I think everybody's making great points. These are really good questions. A lot of these questions are potential policies, potential things we should think about, and I'm going to get back to that. But I do want to mention one thing about it's not a party until somebody goes to Whitebird. When my kid was very little, he came dancing into camp with one of those stickers. So proud of himself. He was little, cute. And my big brother looked at him and said, "Unless it's you." And so raising kids that are now in their 20s, you know, it's safe from getting hurt. I believe we have an incredible infrastructure, incredible professionality about keeping us safe out there from getting hurt. Is it completely safe from being harmed by nefarious actors? You know, they'll always be out there, and we need to keep watching out for each other. As Indigo said on that. I want to invite you to visit my website at Ziesel.net. It talks a little bit about how I got to the fair, and how I got to the fair was a teenager, 15, 16 years old, seeing dad shows on the East Coast, making it out very quickly to the West. By the late 80s, I had moved out to the West permanently from Maryland. Having Crisis at Landover or the Barston Garden is very different than having Crisis at the Greek or Sacramento at Autzen. And that comes from RockMed, and that comes from Whitebird. And then being on the board, you know, being in the fair, I learned what I learned from being in Community Village, and what I learned with my Black Sheep family out in the craft lot in Southwoods and Miss Piggy's, and clearly I felt safe with those things. But being a part of the board, I learned more about what happens in the background, the bums, the big boys, all that stuff. So whatever we do, we need to bring through and be informed by the professionals out there that we work with. And so I just want to emphasize that these thoughts and ideas, we need to lean on our community who knows this stuff. I think the liabilities are important. There's a lot of questions there. So I will leave it at that. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Okay, moving on to the next question. In this one, Felicia, you'll be first on this question. There has been conflict in this progressive community over how to approach diversity, equity, and inclusion. For example, around the concepts of systemic racism and implicit bias, and how they do or don't apply to the fair. What are your ideas for how to address the topic of DEI in a way that brings the community together? And you can start whenever you're ready, Felicia.
All right. Yes, this is definitely a pressing topic. And I feel like it has been for a long time. I think that DEI needs to be examined on every level of management. I also am not as educated about the fair's policies on DEI as I would need to be to answer this like completely. But I truly feel like DEI isn't just like one little space. It needs to be everywhere. And you know, much the same as bringing, you know, the natives into a campsite or whatever. I would absolutely want to ask questions and receive feedback about what it is that, you know, that people are wanting. And I think, you know, making sure that everybody feels included in the fair. That goes even, I think, a little bit into, you know, alter-abled, and making sure that they're able to access the fair in the same ways that we are, which can be complicated considering our past. So yeah, I think I have a lot to learn in this area, and I'm totally willing to do that work. So thank you.
Thanks, Felicia. Go ahead, Indigo.
So the first thing that's coming to me is this sense of healing something. Like, I feel like there's been a lot of work by a lot of people, a lot of hearts, a lot of opinions, a lot of division over the last many, many years, and that there's something broken or something that needs mending, or like the Japanese pot where you put them back together, we need to start filling the cracks with some gold, so that we can move forward. Because I can't come up with a plan of what to do. I can't say what we should or shouldn't, because it's not an individual voice thing. It's a community voice thing. It's a collective voice. It's a voice of each and every one of us, and all the various life experiences, cultural experiences, fair experiences that we each have that we're all bringing to the table in the work we do together at the country fair. I'm just looking at the question again. What are your ideas for how to address this DEI topic in a way that brings the community together? I keep just seeing there needs to be a round table, and it needs to be talked around and around and around without defensiveness, without blame, without accusation, but just each person speaking the truth from their own heart, and each of us listening to the authentic expression that that person is bringing forward without trying to color it through our own lenses and our own brokenness. That's what I think needs to happen. We need to see each other as humans, as deeply dedicated to our breath and our opportunity to serve the Oregon Country Fair, to serve each other, to serve all the kinds of ways we show up as human beings, right?
Thanks, Indigo. Okay, Trevor, your turn.
Yeah, I've professionally, I've sat on the IDEA team at Lane County in inclusion, diversity, equity, and access. Much similar to, I believe would be similar to our EDIB committee. I learned really, I mean, I was pretty much a neophyte around the subject matter when I joined that board. But I learned very quickly that this is a massive endeavor that has more, as time goes on, there's more facets to this subject matter. There's an entire profession of people and leaders who work on this every day. It's fascinating and intimidating, but it's necessary in really all aspects of what all of us do whether we're at work or at home or participating in this board. So I think it's very necessary work, and it's the kind of work that we won't have an end to that work. It's going to be a constant and evolving subject matter as we find other communities that need to be included and represented. That's going to happen. And so as we continue to move forward as an organization, the idea that we're all inclusive and it's the fair and there really are no problems, I think, misses the point. Everybody has a bias. There are many people who are marginalized in various ways. And we need to address that internally and externally at the fair. And we need to take it seriously. And so I would look forward to doing this kind of work and making progressive change in a positive way. Thank you.
Thanks, Trevor. Your turn, Lawrence.
Thank you. Obviously, I have to start from a place of general ignorance, given my own life experience. My experience of marginalization is pretty limited, not entirely, but pretty limited. But I would say that on my previous tenure on the board, we at least did have some genuine and I thought pretty effective trainings to try to wake ourselves up. Implicit bias is just that, like Trevor just said, we've all got it. And we're all we're all in the inside of our own experience. We're not outside of it. We don't know, except if we pay attention and listen. And so my role in this kind of thing is primarily is just listen, learn, and just try to use whatever critical capacities I have to see what the truth is from the eyes and the experience of folks who've lived it. And then to pay attention and to be prepared to be guided and to recognize that it's hard stuff. It is our tendency, as members of this counterculture, boomer created event, is to be pretty self-congratulatory and pretty complacent. I think that's our natural tendency. We say we're a big tent. Everyone's welcome if they subscribe to our values. And I'm sure that we genuinely believe that. And a lot of times we practice it. But the fact is, racist incidents and incidents of exclusion based upon gender roles and sexual identity. I mean, there's plenty of examples in our own community of bad things happening. And we have to start with owning that and then taking the guidance that's out there to do better.
Thanks, Lawrence. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, so it is something we, like, again, being on the board, something we've been working on, of course, over all the time. I think folks in all facets of my, business life and work life and fair life and all this, try at this thing and fail and try again and try again. We just have to not give up and keep working at it. And one thing I've learned is it is something for all of us to participate in. It's really about, bringing us all together, about, having the conversations with each other and really acknowledging these things. The practical part of me wants to solve a problem, right? Solve the problem. And it's not about something that could be solved as much as a belief or, to be expressed through us all, right? Like, it's what we did with the board as we were working on this kind of stuff. One thing I suggested was to get training for the board itself so that we could all be on the same page. And that was something we started doing with Cliff Jones. And really, that's something we've learned from that, is that it's really going to take all of us. Can't be a weight that one committee can carry, or one person, or 10 people, or 150. It's all of us have to buy in and be a part of it. And so, as far as bringing us together, that's the way to do it. But it has to start with dialogue being open. The dialogue, we see a lot of folks that will mention these kind of things and talk about them as though they're fact and say this is what it is on any side. And that's not how you do that. It's not how it could be solved. It is something that we have to all continue to work towards together. And it is tough. It is one of the toughest works you could do. But I think, again, acknowledging that it is something we haven't been able to avoid is a place to start, and really just keep working towards it. So thanks, guys.
Thanks, Kevin. Your turn, John.
Yeah, so earlier Indigo talked about listening in a really elegant and graceful way, and I'm not going to try to repeat that, but that's what a lot of this is about. Coming from a place of privilege in my career, I've integrated work in this in areas of DEI or whatever you might call it. And I think we need to think about it from an objective of improving, being more inclusive. It's not going to be a win, right? But it's going to be an improvement, as Kevin said. And how do we get there? Is we need to set goals and see if we can get to the goals. And those aren't easy to set, and we're not always going to achieve them. Starting working on international patterns of imperialism and conservation and science. I've had some successes, I've had some failures. Turning towards working internally to be more inclusive in our internal organizational practices, and then working with tribes. What we do internationally doesn't apply to tribes. We didn't score those goals in the beginning, slow and steady. We're making progress. And then taking that and bringing it to the fair, it didn't apply. And when I got on the board, I hadn't been involved in the politics. I wasn't involved in the controversies around the diversity committee, but I did volunteer to be the liaison to the diversity committee. And I tried to work with the diversity committee, listen to the diversity committee, and hear them, and work towards a place of not getting over it, but moving forward and finding ways to get things done and have discussions that we could move forward on. I don't think I scored those goals. I think that ended in I think we can agree, an unfortunate way. I'm not going to say whether it was bad or good, but we're doing it again with EDIB, and there's conflict with EDIB and I think that it's okay. Let's learn from our mistakes, and let's learn when we don't make the goal and go for that goal again. In conclusion, I have an objective that I've set for myself. I'll revisit at the end. Focusing diversity and inclusion efforts towards healing to overcome true barriers and celebrate our varied origin, voices, and perspectives.
Thanks, John. Noah, you'll finish this question out for us. Go ahead.
You got it. Equity, diversity, inclusion, and belonging. and I'll add empathy to that as well, are critical. In my past companies, I've created policy and implemented it, but Trevor stated this very well in acknowledging the complexity of the subject. He did a great job. And the further we get into this, the more I realize that I'm not an expert on these complex subjects. It's also my understanding that the current and previous boards have struggled with this subject. And I just think this is too important just to throw ideas at a wall and see what sticks. I would be inclined, and I am inclined, to seek the advice of professional consultants on this in order to pursue further education on the subjects before pressing too far forward. I think this is, I think that's what's been my understanding. That's what's been going on. Things have been pushed and pulled back and pushed and pulled back. So I'll leave it at that. And
Okay, thank you, Noah.
Mm.
Alrighty, we are moving on to our next question, and Indigo, you'll take this one first. How do you approach decision-making when faced with complex or emotionally charged situations, especially when there are multiple perspectives involved? And you can go ahead and start when you're ready.
Are you going to put it up there? So
I got it. Yep. Sorry, there it is.
I just want to read it so I get it right. How do you approach decision making when faced with complex, emotionally charged situations, especially when multiple perspectives are involved? I get curious and I inquire. Curiosity and inquiry, right? Okay, we have a big decision making thing. It's complex. There's a lot of opinions. We're all really attached. We're all really charged. Maybe there's some anger in there, frustration. Maybe there's a lot of attachment to my way of doing it because I know how to do it right. And all of that's coming to the table. So it's about all of us stopping for a minute and taking a breath. It's about all of us bringing our ideas forward to the table and looking at them and then weaving together what we can from amongst each other, because no one of us has the answer or the right way. That's not what the Oregon Country Fair is about. We have the answer collectively, and that answer has to come out of our collective knowing, not out of any one person's frustration about a particular issue. As one who's seen the issues rise and fall over the years, issues come and issues go. Issues come and they go and they come back again, right? And so how do we keep moving forward and make decisions so that we honor what happened in the past, good and bad and everything in between? How do we assess what we've done? We've made some really big decisions collectively as an organization, let's say in the last 8 years. And I think a lot of it's really good, but is there any kind of assessment mechanism at the board level to review these decisions that we're making, to take and say, oh yeah, this is working awesome, this is kick-ass, let's keep doing this, but oh, look over here, there's some ripples that are happening that aren't so good. So we need to be able to take all of our multiple perspectives and listen to each other, right? Not just from our ears, but from this heart place and from our mind, right? We have to listen from all those places. And that's the way forward. It's always the way forward when the voice comes from all of us. So yeah, whatever that is. Daisy says yay.
Thanks, Daisy. Thanks, Indigo. Go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah. Professionally, I deal with these kinds of complex issues frequently around policy, around direction of or the needs of what I do versus the needs of my other counterparts. I find myself to be, while I may have my perspective or my what I believe is the right course, my job is to listen, to be the diplomat and to be the mediator when all of these things come together, and to listen to the sides. So I've been in that capacity in the course of my professional and non-professional life. I've run into situations where I've been accused of being, flip-flopper or change my mind or something like that. Or you said this, but now you're here. Well, that's because I had more information and I checked my ego. I may have my agenda, but that doesn't necessarily shouldn't get in the way of other people's voices and their concerns. And I quite frequently back off from a general decision around like where I may have come in initially, and I may get to the other side. And I find that to be the best way to manage things that have those multiple facets. You're just one, and I take that I take that very seriously every time I come into a situation. I'm just one, and I'm willing to compromise, and I'm willing to make mistakes, and I'm also willing to say, hey, it sounds like everybody's on board with this. Let's go for it. Let's see what happens. I may not be in agreement, but let's go for it. I'm on the team. So I would say that I would listen and I would try to learn from everybody around the subject matter in front of me.
Thanks, Trevor. Go ahead, Lawrence.
Thank you. As a criminal defense trial lawyer, I'm faced with complex and emotionally charged situations involving multiple perspectives pretty regularly. And some cases, profoundly emotionally charged situations. If you're trying a case involving sexual abuse of a child and you have jurors, potential jurors who have had those types of experiences or have been touched by them closely in their family, you have a duty to talk to them about those experiences and to talk to them and mostly listen to them about how those experiences impact their capacity to be fair jurors. And in order to do that and to do that effectively, you've got to be able to listen to the hearts and the pain and the emotion of human beings who have been traumatized. And you can't fake it. You could stand up in a room full of people and to have that open ear and that open heart and to communicate to those survivors that you're feeling what they're experiencing and that you're respecting them and that you want to understand where they're at and to do so without ever losing one's own forebrain, rational perspective. And so to be able to, again, to hear the emotions and to understand and to communicate understanding and ultimately to make a decision in collaboration with your fellow directors because that's the just like the jury system, the board is a group of different perspectives that can come to a better solution than any one person or one voting block can come to.
Thank you, Lawrence. Kevin, go ahead. You're up.
Hey, thanks. Yeah. Complex, emotionally charged situations, multiple perspectives. It's kind of a Tuesday on the board. And so we speak from experience. I would say, when these kind of things start happening, really, I do my best to remove myself from the situation. I will go back to the North Star. What is the I am here to represent the organization, right? And that is what I have to remember. That is what we're here to do. And so it's really about listening. It's about trying to find common ground, right? It sounds pretty positive, but it is a thing. It's really about, sometimes it's just about letting folks get it out of them. Like if folks are getting emotional and things are happening, let's get it out and then let's come back and talk about it, because sometimes you just need to take a stop, take a breath. And again, remember what we're here to do and that we're here to work together. And so I will often do that with us on the board, remind us all we're here to work together. How do we make that happen? That's what we're here to do. And let's get focused on that. Where are we at? Do we need to stop and take more time? I think sometimes it feels, the clock is ticking and you feel that pressure, but sometimes it doesn't have to be that. Sometimes you can take some time to step away and then come back. A friend I worked with a long time ago, we kind of get into these heated discussions over like inventory at a place anyways. And so we'd walk away for 20 minutes and then come back and be fine and we'd solve the problem. And so sometimes it just takes some time, like Zara would say, to just stop and take a breath. And again, remember, we're all in here for the same reason, for the same goal, fighting for the same awesome organization. And so, yeah.
Thanks, Kevin. This is all sounding like good relationship advice, honestly, also. Okay, John, you're up next.
Well, I did just have a 30th anniversary with my lovely wife, who I met when I was 18 years old at the Evergreen State College and Dead Tour. But moving on to the question, we all care. I believe that. I know the board cares. Everyone on the board has the same end game generally in mind. However, we've lost our way and our egos get in the way, and we too often personalize the conversations that don't need to be personalized. False narratives are set. Alternative opinions might not be felt or welcomed. Disagreements are personalized. There's conflict and there's differences that aren't celebrated, but instead they're villainized. And so one of the values-based objectives that I'm going to review again in my closing statement, I think we get those, is maintaining objectivity to reduce personal conflict on the board. And Kevin's right. We're going to retreat when that happens, especially if it's up to individuals. But if we collectively make a goal to hold ourselves accountable to maintaining objectivity to reduce personal conflict on the board, to hold ourselves to our code of conduct together as a board-centered approach to doing that, then it's no longer fear that makes us move away from those situations, but instead it's accountability of all of us as the whole, not individuals, not one person calling another person out, but all of us saying, hey, let's reset. We're here for the same thing. Let's be objective. And I think that's why one of my proposals is about a board-centered approach to ensuring we hold ourselves accountable to the code of conducts that we set for ourselves, as opposed to just putting them out there. And then when somebody breaks them, everybody runs away in fear because they don't want to be lambasted for getting involved or whatever it is. So that's my take on it. And I think it's an important thing that we need to do as a board, so our membership is proud of us and proud of the way we do our work, as opposed to mortified.
Thanks, John. Noah, all yours.
All right. I'm a listener, and I find collaborative decisions are just nearly impossible when we can't hear each other. I want to be careful about this. And sometimes we just need a break to collect ourselves. Once we vocalize a position, we feel inclined to defend that position, and we can't hear the other positions. So I think that which causes emotional charged situations. It's my opinion that board members don't need to be friends or like each other even. I have found this to make for a more productive board, though. Although we are required to serve in good faith on behalf of the organization and its members, and to show respect to one another. I can't speak for anyone but myself. I can work with anyone who shows this good faith and respect. And when my ideas and positions aren't adopted, I work my best to the best of my abilities to implement and drive what has been adopted. So that's how I feel about that.
Thank you, Noah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Felicia.
Yeah, I think complex situations can oftentimes get very emotionally charged. I really like what Noah was starting to say. I think oftentimes, and I see this in the work I do in the restaurant. People get an idea and they get stuck to that idea. But I mean, the idea isn't a bad idea. It's not wrong, but it's not necessarily like fitting toward this common goal. So first and foremost, I think that we need to have common goals and all be on the same page about that. And if we're not, definitely do that first. And then beyond that, truly being able to hear what people are saying and be open to realizing that we weren't complete. We weren't necessarily wrong, but we weren't completely right. And I think that we could all take that into everywhere in our lives. Thank you.
Thanks, Felicia. Okay, that closed out that round. And actually, Brett,
Rebecca, we do. That closes the final round of questions submitted by Fair Family. But we do have one final round of closing statements from all of the candidates. They'll have 1 minute for closing statements, and we'll begin with Trevor.
Starting with Trevor.
All right. Well, I encourage people to look at my campaign statement if you want to get to know me more on like a professional level. I'm not going to go into that. But I would just like to take the opportunity to thank everybody for being here today. This is taking time out of your day. And I really feel this was a great experience. And I continue to feel that the fair is on the right path, and we just need to keep doing the work that we're doing and taking on problems as they come up. If elected, I look forward to working with everybody, and I would commit to that. Yeah, I mean, that's about all I have to say. This has been a great experience. And if not elected, you're gonna see me anyway. You know, I'm participating, I'm engaged. And so with that, have a great day. Have a great Sunday. Thank you.
Thank you, Trevor. And Lawrence, go ahead. 1 minute.
Thanks. As I started off by saying that the board embodies the voice of the people of the fair. In order for the board to meet its responsibilities under the recently adopted board code of conduct, which involves oversight and ultimate responsibility, the board needs to know things. The current majority of the board has adopted the point of view that some business of the fair is not the board's business, and that some budgets or other pieces of information relating to the board shouldn't be known by the board. I would absolutely reject that position and say that even those things that are not within the control of the board need to be within the purview of the board's awareness. The second thing I'd say is we've got to start respecting our committees again. Watch the recent board meetings and see what some of the positions are regarding committees. The committees are the institutional knowledge of our community. We need to work together as a community with that knowledge and with full knowledge on the part of the board.
Thank you, Lawrence. Go ahead, Kevin.
Thanks. Thank you, everybody. This has been awesome. So I could say so change is the only constant, and the fair has lots of challenges coming our way in the not too distant future. For me, I feel confident that I can contribute in positive and decisive way to help us move forward, to be a part of the board, to be a part of bringing us together, to be a part of making sure we're staying focused on our goals, to make sure that when things get tough, like I was saying earlier, that we look out for each other. And really, it's about continuing to expand our voices, expand the board itself. Thank you for all the folks that are here that have not been here, and folks that have been here that are coming back. Thank you to everybody. And so, again, I have no agenda. I have no ego in all of this. It's like doing this nerdy stuff. And so I take it very seriously. And I'm always asking myself, what is the best thing for in the best interest of the fair? And that's my North Star. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Kevin. Over to you, John.
Great, thanks. So I've set some values-based objectives, which I believe are rooted in the values we all share, that I'm going to use to guide my second term of service if elected to the board. These are accessing and learning from the deep institutional knowledge held by the Fair family, fostering multi-generational engagement and leadership to help guide us into the future, focusing diversity and inclusion efforts towards healing to overcome true barriers and celebrate our varied origins, voices, and perspectives, informing decisions with input from our committees, crews, artists, staff, and elders, increasing opportunities for collective dialogue among the board and with the Fair family, striving for more transparency, working towards consensus whenever possible, and compromise when needed, and maintaining objectivity to reduce personal conflicts on the board. And please take a look at my website, but that's backwards, Zeezel, ZEEZLE.net. It tells you more about me and my candidacy. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Noah, your closing statement.
All right. So I don't know if you all can tell, but I'm not completely comfortable with public speaking. I'm also not a fan of quick Q&As. I'm more of a listener and a collaborator, and prefer to come from a position of education and intention. That said, my goal is to contribute more of my outside fair experience to an organization that has provided so much for my family, friends, and myself for so long. I believe I could be a valuable addition to this board. I have no personal agenda except for to work collaboratively with fellow board members and do the best I can for the OCF. And I just want to thank everyone for their time. And I also encourage any members listening or not listening who will see this later to email me if you have any questions.
Thanks, Noah.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Go ahead, Felicia.
All right. First of all, thank you to everybody that organized this, everybody that does the board work to begin with, to get out the vote, and especially my mentors through this. Been amazing and incredibly helpful. So in closing, I have a business mind and a kind heart, and I think that can be valuable to the board. I know how to listen to others, and I know how to work well to have a common goal. As a voting member of the body, I want leaders who know the value of and can carry out a strategic plan that provides clear direction, focused efforts, and a common goal to ensure the organization can adapt to change, seize opportunities, and achieve long-term goals and success. I'm a big thinker with a practical approach. I like to think outside the box while still considering what's already in the box. The professional work I do has gotten me ready to serve on this board, and I'm totally up for the task. Thank you.
Thank you, Felicia. And well, full circle, Indigo, you started us off and you're closing us out.
Here we are. Start with breath, end with a breath. Start with gratitude, end with gratitude. Because what else can we have, right? Like, this is a choice. The Oregon Country Fair is a choice. We are all choosing to show up. We're all choosing to pay attention. We're all choosing to give of ourselves in all the ways we can, whether it's for a board of directors or whether it's, doing something on a gate somewhere during the event, or whether it's walking the beautiful property in the springtime. I think it's really important for us as a fair family to look deeply at what's coming. The weather. How are we going to weather the weather? How are we going to weather the politics? Are the politics going to cause challenge? How are we going to take care of ourselves if things really do begin to dismantle in bigger ways? How is this Oregon Country Fair going to take care of its family? That's what I want to know. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Wow. Well, thank you all. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, everyone watching us on YouTube, and those of you who submitted questions today. We received way more questions than we had time for, but if you would like to learn more about these amazing candidates, you can find more information on OregonCountryFair.net under the elections section. You can also come to the annual membership meeting, either in person or watch it on YouTube. That's Saturday, October 11th. Candidates will be speaking as part of that event. So most importantly, you've made it this far. Make sure to complete your ballot and get your ballots turned in by 8 p.m. on Saturday, October 18th. Once again, thank you to all of these amazing candidates. We really appreciate you all spending 2 hours with us and sharing your ideas and love for the fair. And thanks to everyone at the fair office for your support in making this happen. And once again, to our amazing Get Out the Vote crew and everyone at fair. I look forward to seeing you in the woods in a few months, but we'll see you first on October 11th, and good luck with the elections. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Great work, everybody.
Thank you all very much.
Yeah,
Thanks,